here we go. Welcome to another Ljubljana Talks and live from IMEX 2024 with Gorazd and Jan. We have a really special guest for us, Petra Stušek, CEO of Ljubljana Tourism and the former president of CityDNA. And we are here to discuss the most hot question there is in the industry. Now that you are no longer the president of CityDNA, what will you do with all that spare time?
Well, I am the immediate past president for the last couple of weeks, literally, because 2 weeks ago we had the General Assembly. And honestly, I don't have any more free time, at least not yet. And I'm not really talented to have a free time to start with. Since we are in the biggest show here, I have already new babies in the pipeline, so we're discussing quite a few new projects. However, I am going to have a really, really big and deep breath and think it through how to enjoy life, at least during the summertime, to tackle the hottest topic, because it's supposed to be hot summer.
I think the summer is going to be hot in every sense of the word, but you've done an amazing job with CityDNA. You've taken it from just, in 2018 in Ljubljana, you became the president. And then you went through a number of changes within the CityDNA, but also you took it through COVID.
Yeah.
Looking back at this time, what would you say were the biggest challenges, and how do you look back and you say we did that really well?
True. Well, actually, it was June 19, so it was just before COVID. So it was rocky roads. As association, we were even before witnessing trends that I knew that I will have to change. However, then we really need to restructure ourselves. What I'm particularly proud of is that we did a really inner change in our mindset, not only due to pandemic, but also the way how we operated. First of all, I will be, without false modesty, I will say that I'm really, really proud of myself and at the whole team for everything that I've done. I am the first female president in the 30th year of the whole history. Yeah. So it's a little late to the party gender-wise. However, in a sense irrelevant, but only in a very narrow sense, meaning that people with skills need to have positions, and I really, really strongly believe in that. But I'm really happy now that, the female approach kind of changed a lot of things. First of all, we started, like I said, with an inner change, how the boards...
branding too, no?
Yeah, how the board actually approached the whole thing was much more involved. And through the inner need to change came also outside what others participated in and saw and changed. And not only branding, the whole approach to association, to the DMO association business was changed through this different mindset. And the biggest achievement is that not only the name of the organization changed from ECM, European Cities Marketing, and we are DMOs are so much more than marketing already for years. It was adopted, the name and the whole philosophy behind that we are actually managing our destinations through so many approaches. It was adopted so much that basically not even the membership is using ECM as a mistake. No, they adopted CityDNA, City Destination. The whole name is City Destinations Alliance. It talks about we're urban tourism, we're cradle of development, and we are much more. I mean, we are European. Europe is in DNA of this association, but we're affecting also other continents through our vast knowledge. So there are so many nuances that we actually approached through that new branding that it was adopted instantly. So from ECM is now really through membership and through our partners very adopted CityDNA. No one makes a mistake. At the beginning, we had a joke that everyone who says ECM needs to chip in €5. So we would have quite a budget to have fun through it. Guess what? That would not be fun because stop making mistake really soon, you know.
Petra, is it true? When I'm thinking about your role in association, it's quite similar to European Union, to running. I would say European Commission. How was this multicultural environment difficult for you to organize, manage, and so on? I don't have a clue actually, but I just have
You know what? That's actually a really good question because when I was thinking, people would ask me. In the past 2 weeks, a lot about what am I going to do with the free time and what was the biggest challenge. And actually, that was the biggest challenge. Not the biggest. I mean, we had a lot of achievements, and I'm really proud of the projects that we do, of the new strategy of generation of a new branding. However, the biggest challenge was to lead so many different people with such difficult backgrounds, or in other words, we all know in theory that cultural differences exist. We know that. Yeah. However, in practice, they really do exist. And we are so different one from another in Europe, already in one continent, let alone intercontinental. So in the board, there are 14 different people from all over Europe, from north, south, west, east, and not only different backgrounds, different experiences, but the most important thing, different values. So in all this complot, I would say, we needed to compromise all the time, and only one can lead. And in my case, it was 5 years. I was leading the whole thing. So it was.
Was it helpful that you have experience also with leading the tourist board of
It
Ljubljana?
was helpful in a way, but on the other hand, also not, because when you are a DMO manager, you are the one who's inspiring the team, leading the team, explaining the bigger picture to the team. However, if you don't grasp to explain to the bigger team, you just actually ask them to do several things because there are bigger things at the back, so we need to go this direction, you know. So I'm showing the direction as a DMO manager, and everyone does follow. And I'm really happy that I have a team on Ljubljana who actually understands the bigger picture, and we really do this path together. However, within association, it doesn't work like that. You really need to compromise in order you don't show people the way, you actually pave the path together. So here on this side, on DMO team, we're much quicker because, you know, we can move quicker. We have already paved this way. However, on the other side, there was no path yet. We needed to do it together. We needed to compromise or not. We needed to come together so everyone would be comfortable through their values with the way how we would be structuring the development of urban tourism in Europe, but also outside of Europe, because our biggest achievement is that we actually share great or best practices, and we teach others and we learn from others. Not so much what we do as association per se, but the results of each destination, and that these good practices actually get along so people can learn from it. You know,
amazing. One more provocative
it's easier
question.
said than done.
Yeah, I can imagine. But if you compare Europe to other continents, are we still competitive towards America, States, or I don't know, China and Middle East and so on?
It's a very good question, actually. The answer is yes. However, we are kind of losing the sense of European DNA, that we are the most traditional continent, that it's that actually the majority of head offices still have the majority of headquarters are still here. We are the cradle in Europe, but we are kind of afraid of instead of embracing this as our DNA and learning from the Americans of, let's say, DEI, from the Asian continents, let's say, about new technology, how to embrace it. Instead of all these, mix and matching and embracing each other, we're competitive. Nothing wrong with competitiveness. But when you start to harm yourself through that fear, that's when it starts to get wrong. So that's where we have a little bit of crisis right now, in my sincere opinion.
It's something that you said is actually very true. I heard this phrase of, America innovates, China copies, and Europe regulates. But in this case, I think even if we look at the ICA statistics, we see that Europe is very strong in the association market, right? And somehow we are not managing to build on that, but we are becoming more problematic for a lot of associations. I was just speaking with a gentleman who is not from Europe, but from Australia, and he's probably going to be moving the headquarters of the association to Singapore because they have extremely good taxation for international associations. Mm-hmm. And I don't see us talking on a European level or even on national levels to be more welcoming towards international associations. And that brings me towards something that happened end of April in Brussels. I know you were there. It was basically just before Barbara Jamieson took over as the new president. And that was the event talking to the European Commission about our industry and about the relevance of what we do. Yeah. Could you tell us more about that?
Definitely. It's called EU Dialogue. And it was meant for policymakers to make them understand about the complexness of the meetings industry, about how we actually are very much into bloodline of so many different levels of people, lives in general. However, it ended up again in two things that I will be but I will be blunt, open, and a little bit critical about it. One thing is, we kind of established that the industry itself has, for a while now, a bit of a identity crisis. To start with, are we meetings industry? Are we business events industry? Are we, God forbid, MICE? Which is, by the way, outside of this bubble, still the most known name for it. Are we part of tourism? Are we not part of tourism? Do we want to be related to tourism or not? And all of us know that this is an issue, and yet we kind of don't come to the common, let's say, definition that we would be all happy about. And that is, again, European. Mostly, it's a global question, but it starts here in Europe to start with. And the second thing, it was 1 month and a half before the elections, which was a great timing to start to politicians for the next for the next round. However, what happened was, of course, they were there to start with. They gave opening speeches, but then a lot of them they were gone. It shows a deep no understanding of the importance of the business, and that's where it also shows that how much work is still ahead of us in the field of advocacy. And again, we need to speak with one voice as an industry. We need to unify And we need to be really, really persistent and patient. And otherwise, we're going to keep continuing talking in our bubble to ourselves. I'm sorry, but that's the case.
I mean, listening to you now, I think perhaps it is an identity crisis in a way. Even we don't have the same taxonomy at the end of the day. We don't know how to communicate, and I think that there are certain things that are being done, to say we want to speak as one voice. But perhaps, and I got this from talking to James Lantham yesterday. He said we shouldn't be speaking with one voice. It should be a million voices, but with the same message. And I think we first have to figure out what the message is. And one thing that I think we've noticed as what we are doing in Ljubljana, and together with you, Gorazd, the politicians forum that we've done this year, I think we've seen the same pattern. They come in, but they don't listen. So how do we get the politicians to listen to us more?
That's a very complex question and a very good one. However, it's the same as every other thing when you talk to a human being. You really need to understand or go deeper into their shoes and walk in their shoes, and that's when they start to that's when you find one field that they can relate to, and then they and start talking to them through that. That's when the whole thing is going to start moving forward. However, to find that first step, that's the most important thing, and we haven't done this yet, And that's one thing. And the second thing is, we're very mature here. We are very self-confident. We know what we're talking about, so it's kind of really difficult to go many levels down to start talk with the basics again, and be very patient to say 2 million times the same things, 2 million voices, the same thing. So for the 2 millionth and the first time, they will actually hear us. So it's the vision, clear message, patience, and the same message over and over and over again. But it needs to be very simplified. That's where we failed so far,
Well,
in my honest
absolutely
opinion.
agree. Like we say that Ljubljana is the most beautiful city in the world, and we know and we believe in that. It's exactly the same. And we are not repeating the question. Is it true that this is also because we do not have statistical data and we do not know how to measure the industry? This year, actually, there is quite a lot of new research here presented at IMEX. Today, we will talk about Poland's statistical report. There is, of course, there are some others, like Prague statistical report. This is maybe missing also in many countries. Some kind of, unified statistical report which will bring us the data we all need, actually. So, yeah.
Well, actually, that's one thing that European Union covered in the recent past with this data system that two consortia set up, and now both consortia are coming together. So it would be an open source for statistical data. And in my personal opinion, actually, we're not missing statistics in general. Mm-hmm. What we do miss is the understanding how to use them, the knowledge for how to use them, the interpretation, the knowledge for the interpretation, the knowledge to benchmark it. That's what is actually this massive amount of data that a lot of destinations, for example, are collecting. How to actually put them in on the same or on a similar basis, so you could benchmark and draw the information out of it. But the fact is, what you don't measure, you don't understand, and what you don't understand, you cannot manage. However, when we come to the question, for example, of the legacy of the destination, what we were talking about it, how do you measure that? So
this is beyond now, I would say, really beyond certain metrics we are using on a daily basis. Yeah.
It's true, but however, we just need to accept that some things are beyond metrics, but we can talk about, for example, the sentiment about among the stakeholders, among the residents. That tells also a lot. So we do have tools already. We just, in brackets, need to gain this knowledge how to actually use them for the good of all of us. It sounds a little bit philosophical, but it's really not.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Petra, we are coming to the end of the discussion, but we always have some personal questions for our guests. So now we will have more time. What is your number one hobby? What will you do? Of course, it will be a hot summer. We understand it, but I know a little bit about your hobbies. But maybe you can share this with the audience.
Actually, I'm gonna go sailing first because I've missed too much of it in the past few years. But what I'm really looking forward to it is I just renewed my apartment, so I'm gonna contemplate on my terrace with a good book for a amount of afternoons in the summertime, and I'm so looking forward to that because everyone is like, "Do you ever settle down?" I do a lot, and this summer I'm gonna do that.
You're still reading books.
Oh yes, I am. Books, I am. I actually do prefer books.
Not electronic ones.
Not electronic versions, but I did not. But only there is a but. Only when I have time. I don't want to do it in a rush and today I need to read so many pages. No, when I have time and really have time to enjoy it.
So, will you be reading them in the shade or in the sun? What do you prefer?
I actually prefer the sun. To read them in the sun, my skin kind of tolerates it so far, but I'll combine.
Petra, thanks for joining us for this great discussion we had with you. You will come back tomorrow again. We will have another guest, famous guest with us, and Petra will be there too. Karina Bauer is coming. Stay tuned, and we are coming back in a few minutes.